This is FYI, a public affairs program of Strong Tower Christian Media on 93.7 The Light and Hope 100.7.
I'm JT Burcham. Welcome to FYI, where we talk with interesting people about fascinating projects around Ohio. Today, talking with speaker, author, Dr. Frank Turek. Frank, how are you today, sir?
JT, I'm doing great. I hope the people of Ohio are doing well as well.
Ohio is doing good. However, we are struggling to defend Christianity in the culture. So
Yep.
I think you have some help for that, yes?
Yeah, that's what we do at crossexamine.org. That's our website, crossexamine.org. We present evidence that Christianity is true, and we cross-examine ideas against it. And a lot of it has to do with our book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. In fact, I've been to Ohio many times, JT. I've been to Ohio State several times. I've been to the University of Ohio presenting I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. And it's really arguing from the ground up that truth exists, that God exists, that miracles are possible, that Jesus really did rise from the dead to prove he was God. And the New Testament and the entire Bible are telling us the truth.
Now, you say atheists are stealing from God. Talk to me about that. That was kind of interesting little tidbit I heard from you.
Yeah, that's another book I've written called Stealing from God, Why Atheists Need God to Make Their Case. And they do this in many ways. Let me just give you one way that atheists steal from God. On one hand, they will say, well, there can't be a good God because there's too much evil in the world. But as soon as you ask them, what do you mean by evil? They're actually going to wind up proving God. Why? Because nothing is evil unless there's a standard of good. And there is no objective standard of good unless God exists. Because you see, evil, JT, doesn't exist on its own. Evil is a lack in a good thing. Evil is like cancer. If you take all the cancer out of a good body, you got a better body. But what happens if you take all the body out of the cancer? You got nothing. Evil is like rust in a car. If you take all the rust out of a car, you got a better car. What happens if you take all the car out of the rust? You got a Pinto. Right? No, you got nothing, right? In other words, evil can only exist if good exists, but good can only exist in an objective way if God exists. So when atheists are complaining there's too much evil in the world, they actually have to steal a standard from God, a standard of good, in order to say that there's too much evil in the world. In effect, they're stealing from God while they're arguing against him.
Interesting. Now, I know you do events all across America. Do you ever, when folks step up to the mic to ask you questions and question and answers, are you ever nervous? Are there any questions that you ever say, let me get back to you? What are some of the most challenging things you've heard, and where are you at right now?
Well, I think the evil question is one of the most challenging questions. Not why does God allow evil in general, but why does God allow a specific evil? And I don't know why God allows a specific evil. I know why he allows evil in general, because he has to give us free will if we're going to love. The problem is we can use our free will to do evil. If he were to stop all evil in the world, he would take away our free will, and then we wouldn't be free creatures. So I know why he allows certain evils, but I don't know what the ultimate reason is he allows a specific evil. So I don't know, but I know why I don't know. I'm in time. God is outside of time. He can see the end from the beginning. It could be that a particular evil occurs. I can't see any good coming from it. You can't see any good coming from it. But due to the ripple effect, that every event that occurs ripples forward to affect trillions of other events, it might be that a particular evil occurring today ripples forward to, say, bring forth a great evangelist 500 years from now who saves millions of people. I can't trace all those ripples, but of course God can. So those questions are hard to answer, but I know why they're hard to answer, because I have a limited perspective. But God, of course, has the ultimate perspective, and that's why he may allow a certain evil.
Yeah. I read a quote that you have talked about. Now, I love doing puzzles with my grandson. And I heard you talk about worldview being the box top of a puzzle. The worldview is really kind of helping us put it together. When you got God in the picture, helps bring it all together. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, in order to make sense of life, you kind of need the box top to a jigsaw puzzle. Just like you want to make sense of a piece of the puzzle, you sort of need the box top. And what Christianity is, if it really is true, and we give evidence that it is, Christianity is the box top to reality. And so you might ask yourself, as we just did, why does God allow certain evils? Well, if Christianity is true, Christianity is the answer to the problem of evil. If we had never sinned, JT, there would be no need for Jesus. The reason Jesus came was because evil entered the world through our own free choice and Satan's free choice. So Jesus came into the world and added humanity to his deity and allowed the creatures that did evil to actually torture and kill him so he could forgive those by taking their punishment on himself. And not only forgive us, he can give us his righteousness. So by trusting in Jesus, you're not only forgiven what you've done, you're given his righteousness. So Christianity is the answer to the problem of evil. And once you understand that, you have the box top to why certain things happen in life that you can't explain.
Yeah. We're talking with Dr. Frank Turek of crossexamine.org. Dr. Frank, what are some of the challenges right now that you're facing in culture? Any cultural issues that are favorites of yours to discuss right now?
Well, I recently wrote updated a book called Correct, Not Politically Correct. It's about same-sex marriage and transgenderism. We just added a brand new section on this issue of transgenderism because it is such a controversial and hot topic right now. And so we have a whole section in this book, Correct, Not Politically Correct, on it. And JT, there are no Bible verses in the book. It's not the biblical case against these issues. It's the natural law, medical, common sense case why both same-sex marriage and transgenderism are not good for individuals and not good for societies. So those are the big issues. In fact, you asked earlier, what kind of questions do you get with regard to Christianity and objections? The top objections to Christianity today are morality, and morality, JT. In other words, you notice that people are objecting to Christianity, not because they don't think there's evidence that God exists or they don't think there's evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. They just don't like the moral prescripts of the Bible. They don't like that God has put boundaries on sexuality, for example, for our own good, and they just want to do what they want to do. And that's why a lot of times on college campuses and even at churches where I do events, if a non-Christian gets up to the microphone for Q&A and they express any hostility at all, I'll normally stop and ask this question. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? JT, I've had atheists stand in front of that microphone in front of hundreds of people. I asked that question, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? And they say no. And I go, no? How's that reasonable? How's that rational? How is it that you wouldn't believe something that was true? Well, because it's not a head problem. It's a heart problem. They don't want it to be true. They don't want there to be a God. Why? Because they want to be God over their own lives. They're not on a truth quest. They're on a happiness quest. And here's the problem. You can make yourself happy over the short term, doing a lot of fun, but selfish and sinful things. Yet over the long term, it's a disaster. And everyone listening to us right now who's over 40 years old knows what I'm talking about, because many of us have tried it ourselves. I'm just going to live for me. I'm just going to live my way. Yeah, not very long. If it's all about you, if you live your life all about you and you follow every impulse, first of all, you're not going to be able to hold down a relationship. Second of all, if you follow every impulse, you're probably going to wind up broken, divorced, alone, addicted, and probably prematurely dead. No, if you want contentment, you got to go straight through truth, and Jesus is the truth.
Yeah. Now, all right, I'm going to change gears a little bit. I'm looking for some hope. Give me some hope. Tell me we are affecting our culture a little bit and changing minds across America right now.
Well, we are, if the Christians would step up and love their neighbor by getting engaged in these cultural issues. You don't love your neighbor by being silent or agreeing with the culture. In fact, JT, we have a misunderstanding of what love is in this country. Love does not mean approval. And every parent that's listening to us right now knows this. If you approve of everything your 13-year-old wants to do, are you loving? No, you're unloving. You're enabling them to do evil. You need to stand in the way of evil and if you love people. And this is why the Apostle Paul, in the passage that everyone reads at their wedding, but nobody obeys, 1 Corinthians 13, Paul says, love always protects. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing. Love rejoices in the truth. Love always perseveres. When you love people, you don't allow them, to the best of your ability, to go down roads that are going to hurt them. You speak to them and you warn them. You say, honey, I love you so much. I don't want you to go down this road. It's wrong. It's going to hurt you and hurt others. It's against God's will. That's what love does. Love doesn't wink at evil. Love doesn't approve of evil. Love seeks what's best for the other person, and that requires Christians to stand up. And if you're upset about the direction of the culture, go home and look in the mirror, because you probably haven't been speaking up enough in love. You've been allowing people to get away with going down roads that are going to hurt them and hurt others. Love requires you stand for the truth, just like Jesus did, just like the apostles did. And that requires people to be bold, to love their neighbors by telling them the truth. You know, Thomas Sowell, who's now 93 years old, he says everything well. He says, when you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. And too often we tell people what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear, because we want to help ourselves. We don't want them mad at us. That's not love. That's cowardice.
Boy, good words there. Great challenge, Dr. Frank Turek. Hey, we're almost out of time. If folks have been challenged by your words here today, what resources do you give them? Where can they go to learn more, to stay connected, to get involved? Crossexamine.org, I'm guessing you're going to say.
Yeah, crossexamine with a D on the end of it.org. They can also listen to our podcast. It's called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. It's on twice a week. We have a TV show on DirecTV channel 378, Wednesday nights at 9 Eastern. And we have great resources. We actually have an app. They can get everything through the app, the Cross-Examined app, 2 words in the App Store. So if they check all that out and go to our website, they can see when we're traveling the country. We go to colleges, high schools, churches all the time. And we present the evidence that Christianity is true, and we cross-examine ideas against it. Also, our YouTube channel. The Cross-Examine YouTube channel has 2,000 videos on it. Many of them are Q&A from the college campus, so they should go there as well.
Yeah. Real quick, before I lose you, I think I understood that you came to Christ through apologetics, through the argument of Christianity, yes?
That's right, JT. I read Josh McDowell books, Evidence Demands a Verdict and More Than a Carpenter, and became a Christian through apologetics. And then when I met Norman Geisler, who at the time was kind of the Michael Jordan of apologetics, I came to Southern Evangelical Seminary to learn more in 1993, and then started crossexamine.org in 2007. So that's a great place, by the way, to get a education, ses.edu, ses.edu.
Very cool. Dr. Frank Turek, thank you so much for your time today, and blessings as you crisscross America educating us. We appreciate it. Keep pushing.
God bless you, JT. Thank you so much.
This is FYI, a public affairs program of Strong Tower Christian Media on 93.7 The Light and Hope 100.7.